Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Valor-Inters Podcast. I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Ollie, and today we're going to be discussing the recent developments in the Valorant Esports scene. Now, we did not have an episode last week, and that's due to me being an idiot and some technical difficulties. We'll be able to fix them in the future, so that week was a mulligan. But it's kind of good because a lot happened this week, or not much happened last week, and a lot happened this week, so let's get into it. First of all, North American Challenges is where we're going. Before we start, let's talk about North American Challenges qualifiers because we had some interesting storylines there. So we'll get to the big one, which is TSM. But first, let's discuss T1. T1 removed AZK and Brax, and we're now playing with Automatic, who is a Valorant a Counter-Strike major champion, and they're also playing with a player known as Curry. And they did not do well at all. Ollie, thoughts?
Oh, no, they didn't. I thought you were going to keep talking. No, they didn't do very well at all. They looked bad. Like,
Yeah.
it was... I mean, we're pushing the capacity of my memory here, but, like...
Alright, I'll take it then. So, I'm going to give three teams a pass. EG, Cloud9 White, and T1. EG have not been together for a very long time. T1 have had roster changes and need some time to figure themselves out. I'll lend them that time. I do expect a results Challengers 3, though. I expect them to at least make the event. They really need to make Challengers 3. And I will forgive Cloud9 White because Jazzy has been on an extended break, and they have been playing with a stand-in known as Keita, who has not been bad, but is obviously not the best female player in Valorant, so kind of an issue.
Yeah.
Now, who I will not give a pass to is... okay, let me just make my point clear on T1. T1 are a new squad. They're incorporating new players. They haven't even officially signed Curry. They need some time. Let's give them some time. However, who has had plenty of time is TSM. TSM are still playing a poor comp. They are playing double smokes. A, it limits Sabrosa, and B, it's not a good comp. Cypher, Omen, and Brim are too many smokes and not enough value. That's the issue. It's just too many smokes and not enough things. Hayes needs to get some flexibility, and they need to be more willing to put Sabrosa onto the duelist. I would have liked to see Sabrosa become more of a Sinatra-type figure, where he can play the Raze and the Sova, and because you consistently want to have Wardell on the Jet and Drone as your entry fragger, because they were both very good at those roles, obviously. But Sabrosa either has to be a support or your third man. If you keep putting him on smoke, you limit his value and you mess up your comp. And they just didn't look good. Their comp has been completely figured out at this point. They've been playing it for like 6 months now.
Yeah. Weren't they the ones who, in the failed episode, we were, like, trying to come up with all these weird roster changes for them?
No, that was... we'll get to that. That was NRG and Mbox. I'd like to see roster moves on TSO, honestly, because I think Sabrosa, Cutler, and Hayes don't have good, like, chemistry. I think the roles are confused, but I don't know, man. It's just so frustrating to watch this team be bad.
It really is, because there's a lot of names in there.
Like, Drone's an extra fragger, Sabrosa's very talented, Wardell was arguably, like, was a top 3 player in 2020. It's unbelievable.
And so it's just like, you see all these names and you wonder why they aren't succeeding. And I feel like that's down to a lot of, like, it really does come down to they're running old stuff. Like, they aren't showing a willingness to adapt.
So
we're gonna need to see that from them here pretty soon, as we're gonna start seeing them be willing to, kind of change things up whenever they need to get changed up, because whatever they're running right now obviously isn't working for them.
So what I will say is that obviously we have talked that like I think people know this, AZK and Brax could go to basically any team and improve it. But in T1, I think AZK being your flexible support player could work here. Brax being a hardcore sentinel so that you can have other players stick to their roles could be good. There's a lot of roster moves that could be done, but also I think TSM believes in these 5 players. They're very good. They're a very good 5 players. It's just that they don't seem to have the roles figured out.
They don't seem to have really much of anything figured out. You can tell that the mechanical talent is there, but every bit of the tactics and the team play just doesn't seem like it's quite there yet. And like it
Oh my god, I've not been on full screen this whole time. Oh no! All right, we're not gonna restart. Sorry, guys. They had to see that. Oops, my bad. Let's continue talking. My bad, guys. Sorry.
No, but yeah, it's just we just need to see a little bit of creativity come out of this team, and maybe see what a few of the more creative minds that see what they can make prevail with this team, because we can tell that they're there. It's just a matter of can they outsmart opponents as well as do what we've seen them do 1,000 times already. They need to be doing something new.
All right. So before we talk into the main challenges event, and there's a lot to talk about, swiftly, I want to say version 1, I will give the same. I forgot to mention that version 1, I will give the same courtesy as to T1. New team, new it's new players. Got to give them some time. Let's talk about the move for Android. So NRG had been rumored to be picking up AZK and Brax. It turns out this was unfortunately false, and they have picked up Android. Now, they have not made it clear that he is a 6 player or that they will bench a player. And we previously voiced in the premiere episode that we did not appreciate 6-man rosters. However, after seeing Rubino play in Heretics, I'm a little more bullish on the idea. Now, do I think NRG need a 6-man roster? No. Android's obviously a very, very good pickup. He was the best player on Inbox. So we'll see what they can do. I'm excited.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Okay. But now let's really move on to the meat of the episode, or at least in North America, Challengers 2. So let me just make this clear. I predicted to Masters. This was in a scrapped episode, but I predicted to Masters Genji, Xset, Sentinels, and 100 Thieves. Ollie, do you remember who you predict? Because I do.
I predicted Sentinels, Immortals, LG, and 100 Thieves.
Yes, so we both got 2 out of 4. Now, we'll get to 100 Thieves, but first thing I want to say is, wow, we were sleeping on Envy. Envy...
Apparently we were.
So I think we kind of wrote Envy off after a while, because they were slumping a little bit near the end of 2020, and they didn't look great in Challengers 1. But I think Envy, if you look at these players, they're very much a momentum-based team, and they really smashed their way into the Challengers 2 event, and they just came out swinging. They won the event. I mean, it's not the first time they've won an event over arguably other teams like Sentinels and 100 Thieves. They did it in the initial qualifier for First Strike, but man, they look great and they look hot, and I think as long as the Envy team can keep the momentum, they're going to be on fire.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Go ahead.
I want to talk about how funny it is to me that FaZe Clan went out without winning a single match like that.
Wait, a single match or single map?
Or a single map. Remember everything we said in the episode that we scrapped about FaZe Clan?
Oh yeah. By the way, if you guys don't
know,
we
had a 100% prediction rate. We guessed precisely what was going to happen with FaZe Clan.
Well, it's not a secret. They're a bad team. They have somewhere between 5 and 3 good players, but it's just okay. You can't. I'm gonna give you a quote. I'm gonna give you a quote from Chip Zion. It's okay. You just need to have. He played Overwatch, so it's a 6-man game. You just need to have 6 players who won't kill 6 good players who won't kill each other. Chip Zion did not perform well in the Overwatch League, and clearly his philosophy holds incorrect, because there are 5 good players in FaZe Clan. They're friends. They like each other. This team is trash. There is no such thing as team play for this team. It is just 5 players taking aim duels, and they're so talented that they win sometimes, and they keep improving individually. But there is no concerted effort by this team to improve their results.
This team is like if TSM was just a little bit better mechanically.
No, but TSM are actually like a coherent, cohesive team. They're just old. They're just kind of rotten. Okay, at least when you watch TSM play, TSM clearly have a plan and they understand their comp. It's just that it's been figured out by now. FaZe Clan never had a plan in the first place. I sent you this meme. Basically, FaZe Clan's plan is, if we don't know what we're doing, they can't know what we're doing either. Therefore, we can't be counter-stratted. That's their whole thing.
It got them here.
That's the sad part. But they have an easy bracket, though.
They did have a very easy bracket.
Well, okay, comparatively easy bracket.
It was...
I don't want to keep talking about this team.
We could have been on FaZe Clan, and
we could have been on FaZe. Bro, if you replaced Corey and if you replaced Zachary and Marv with me and Ollie, we would get 0 frags, and they still would have fucking got. I shouldn't curse. I'm sorry. Apologies, everyone. They still would have made it to challenges too. It's incredible. Anyway, let's talk about another team. Let's talk about the absolute catastrophe of this 100 Thieves. Now, 100 Thieves did not perform exceptionally poorly, but they absolutely threw their icebox away. So what I saw from 100 Thieves is they had copied Vision Striker's strategy of letting their jet engine. Okay, first of all, Dicey had an excellent tournament. Dicey was playing very well. Clearly, putting Dicey on the entry role and letting him be the planter was a good decision for this team. He is looking way better. Way better. Clap in half to Dicey. Good. Well, that was 2 claps. Good for you, man. But what they were doing is that they would use Dicey to plant, and they would get no map site control, and then they would get slaughtered on the retakes on Icebox. They got plants on, I believe it's the A site. It's the one with the ziplines. Every round, and they got slaughtered on the retake every round. It was unbelievable. They absolutely threw away their T side. The other unfortunate thing, I'll analyze the game a little deeper, but the other big storyline is that Asuna had a terrible tournament. He has not been showing up recently. You know, this guy is the guy who was inducted into the first class of First Strike after First Strike. Like, he was NA's first class, and the man absolutely did not perform at all this tournament. Ollie, thoughts?
Yeah, no, he, no, I was just looking back at some of the stats and stuff, from the 100 Thieves Luminosity game, and the thing that really surprised me is, like, 100 Thieves, as you said before with Dicey, him being on his kind of, I guess, like not necessarily a renaissance, but like a revitalization,
well,
I guess.
I don't even know if it was a revitalization. I think he's always been at this level. He's just been inconsistent. He's just found consistency.
Well, but that can be a revitalization in its own. Would you not say?
You're right. I'm being semantic. You're right.
Someone finding their mojo and being able to keep that peak at the highest. But then, like, it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, like, he stayed up there, but then the rest of the team still did the thing that they do sometimes, where they kind of, they dip and bow a little bit, and, like, once that kind of happened, there wasn't really much of a coming back for them against LG, at least.
I would just like to point out, they lost Icebox when a Proto was on Raze. Do you know what happens when the Proto's on Raze? He bottom frags. You know why? Because his Raze is garbage. Like, they lost to a Proto's Raze. It's the easiest, it's the easiest way to beat Luminosity. Have a Proto on the Raze, he'll do nothing. Like, here's the issue, though. I can't point to a clear issue with 100 Thieves because their issue was, like, they weren't doing the high-level stuff. They weren't having good fakes, good rotates, and good mid-games. Like, for a team with 3 IGLs, you think their mid-game would be unbelievable. But they just got totally... Like, I don't know who was IGLing for LG. Actually, I know who it is. It's not... I don't know, remember the 5th player's name. It's not Moose, Boy, Dre, a Proto, or Thief. It's the other... Oh, my god. Mine's brain fart. Sorry. But... They were just... 100 Thieves were just getting outsmarted. Like, the reason LG had to slaughter them on retake is because they were always knew where 100 Thieves were going to be on the map. The mid-game needs to be better for 100 Thieves. It really does.
Yeah, they definitely seem to have plans for getting in, but they don't really know what to do once they're in. And a lot of times they tend to give over way too much intel. In the point leading up to it, just because of how decisive they are, can often lead to slight predictability. In that, like, once you start to know how your opponent reacts, you can know, like, okay, like, you can basically learn their thought process, and you can be like, okay, well, like, certain situations lead to certain things, and I can't go into any specific details.
I can.
You can probably, but I...
Here, let me give something they could have done. LG were early rotating every time they stopped seeing utility out of 100 Thieves on the B site, and they would hard rotate back to A, so it was basically a 4v4 insta retake, even 5v4, but LG would still win it. Like, no one ever called to say, like, hey, let's stay here and not use our utility and just take B. Never happened.
Yeah.
It's just they really just were playing simple Valorant, and that was not good enough against a team like LG, and that's tough. I mean, it's a good start for the North American region. The teams look a little better. The top of the crop
I
looks
would say
better.
all of the teams, like the top like 6, I would say, look a lot better than they did even just a couple weeks ago.
I still think
Like
they're
I
competing with
feel
Europe
like
though.
I still don't think that they could. Um but like that top 6 like looks like, we could maybe every once in a while like pick, one of the members of like, like the Envies, the Sentinels, the Immortals, the LGs, them kind of, they have a they either have a really good tournament or, they have a really good string of tournaments. They just feel like the kind of teams that could potentially, pick up steam and, potentially represent North America very well at an international stage.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about our top 4 teams. Oh, wait, actually, before I do that, your boy Dre. Can we just clap for your boy Dre? Got revenge on 100 Thieves finally. They cut him to sign this new roster. He's part of those PUBG players, and he finally got his revenge. Good for that guy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, all right. So for those of you who aren't aware, the top 4 teams were Envy, who came out absolutely swinging, did not drop a single series. Sentinels, who unfortunately knocked out. Well, you'll see. We'll talk about it. And then Immortals and Exet. So the unfortunate thing for 100 Thieves and Luminosity is that they both probably could have made it out, but Sentinels got knocked down so quickly that Sentinels just slaughtered them on their way to staying back in the tournament. Like, they both ran the Sentinels in their elimination games, and that's just tough. Envy,
Yeah,
I mean,
Sentinels and Envy being on the same half of the winner side bracket kind of screwed over the entire other half of the bracket.
Yeah,
because that just meant that like even if like because Immortals Luminosity like
that's a tough
those were
game.
two
That's a
that's
close
a
game.
tough game. That's a close interesting game for everyone involved, right? For that person to then have to be like, oh, okay, like NVB X set, so like but like they're probably like they're like up there, but the team we're really scared of facing is Sentinels, and then you end up at the point where you do have to face Sentinels. Like that's just one of those things where it's like you're like, okay, so I just lost to like I am Luminosity Gaming, I just lost to Immortals, and now I'm actually about to just lose to Sentinels again. Except they didn't. They lost to Xset,
Yeah.
which was honestly even funnier.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that. I think Exet's a good team. I don't know why you're sleeping on them so much. I think Exet's a good team. Why do you hate Exet?
I don't have anything personally against Xset. It's more just that, like, really, Luminosity again? Like,
yeah, I guess that's true.
Like, I don't know. It's just I expect better from Luminosity than this.
Yeah.
But oh well, what do you do?
All right, let's talk about. I guess like. All right, let's talk about X. All right, we talked about you just talked about Xset. So let's talk about their top 3 teams. Envy. We talked about they came out swinging. They looked really hot. Their players went into base. Let's talk about the Immortals. I think everyone knows about Sentinels already. Let's talk about the Immortals. Big brains, bro. Actually, excellent coaching.
Immortals look spaced as fuck right now.
Language.
They really do. Oh, sorry.
I know I cursed first, but language.
Immortals based as heck right now. Like they're playing exciting. They're playing fun, and they look really smart while they're doing it.
They have good players. They have good strats. Obviously, we know the coaches are top tier. Packing 10 is.
They've had a consistent roster for more than 3 weeks at this point, so it's kind of amazing. I know,
It's
right?
Unbelievable. I never thought we'd see the day.
They actually have some synergy going. It's wonderful.
And then the whole team gets poached by someone. I can't wait.
It's gonna happen. The rogue team that we've all been waiting for is finally. It's about to happen.
Hey, we'll get to the team that almost was rogue in a little bit later.
Oh, Jesus. You're gonna make me talk about Europe.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm trying to get to Europe pretty fast because I think the story of NA is mostly just about 100 Thieves getting bodied and like LG
And then
getting
Envy
prime, I
just
guess.
coming out of nowhere.
I mean, yeah, there's not that much to say about Envy. They just looked unbelievable. They just looked like the old Envy that won the NSG tournament back right before First Strike. They looked
Yeah.
incredible.
It's just it was vintage. They really did just spend. They came, they saw, they conquered. Which is weird because I think I had them as my weakest team
Really?
going into
I understand that, but I think
because thinking about it, even
what?
from
I thought you
from
had Genji.
a
Wait. FaZe Clan. Okay, first of all, you're forgetting
Oh
FaZe
wait,
Clan.
no. My weakest was FaceClan, and then
Also,
after that was Envy.
I thought you hated Genji. I actually predicted Genji to go forward
I
because
don't
alright,
hate.
let me make something clear. I predicted Genji to go forward because I thought they were going to be like Immortals, but better. I was very, very wrong. They were like Immortals,
No,
but worse. They were a
I
lot
think that
worse.
2 weeks in a row or I guess 2 tournaments in a row of Immortals simply playing Genji's game better. I don't think that we can any longer say that Immortals is Diet Genji and that Genji is now Diet Immortals. I think that their play styles are still very similar, yes,
They're both
but
tactically smart teams with less than stellar fragging who still
Immortals are just playing it better. Immortals are playing around their strengths more. They're mitigating the damages that their weaknesses can cause. It they're playing some of the best Valorant in A. They deserve the third place spot that they got in a very tough tournament.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess what I'd say about both Genji and Immortals is that theoretically their fragging is capped. God, this is such a Jupiter thing to say. The NA player's fragging is capped because NA is no. Alright. Theoretically they're capped by their fragging, but honestly they're playing so well that I wouldn't be surprised if they could probably win Masters, Immortals. And not Genji, I think Genji have been pretty solidly figured out at this point. They're not as deep as Immortals, they're not as tricky. But I think Immortals could win Masters, even though their fragging is arguably worse than the other team. Oh,
I still think Masters is Sentinels to win at this point.
I think everyone thinks that.
I think that just based on even yeah, they kind of got nuked by by Team Envy. And by kind of got nuked, I mean
It means it happened twice. It means it happened twice and it was bad both times.
Yeah, they got kind of poopy doo on a couple of times.
But well, here's my question: are Envy still going to be hot after a month of waiting for Masters to happen? Maybe
If they can keep their heads where they need to be, I think so.
Which is in the clouds for this team. Most teams,
I mean,
this team is in the clouds.
No, Envy. I mean, this is just a curse of the organization. But every time Envious seems to sign any esport organizations, they seem to be the most sink or swim, based on momentum teams in their game.
I mean,
and you can kind of see that with Team Envy. They got into Champions Tour barely. They barely got in, and then they take the momentum that they had and then run with it through the entire tournament. They just
what's wild, bro? Envy is the org that signed Kenny S. Remember that? Remember when this team was the major league team with Kenny S? Look at this team. Look at this. All right. Let's take a step back for a moment, and look at this org as a whole. What has this org been doing since Kenny left for G2? The Overwatch roster was good at the start, then it bombed out. That's when they still had Kenny. Their COD roster, I guess, is fine now, but it was bad for a couple of years. It's their Overwatch roster is just getting good now.
Their COD roster seems to kind of have peaks and valleys, where it's their COD roster.
Did Kenny just curse this org? Wait, really? Okay, is Kenny cursed? He left Very Games eventually dies. He left Titan explodes. Is Kenny just cursed? He left Envious and they bomb out for 3 years. Is Kenny just cursed?
I mean, he's still on G2 and G2's still winning LEC.
He hasn't left yet. Maybe Kenny's cursed, dude. Maybe Kenny is cursed.
If Kenny ever leaves G2, I am so sorry to every G2 League of Legends fan.
If Kenny S leaves G2, sell your G2 stocks.
Sell your G2 stocks. And that's not even, that's genuine, actual stock market advice. Wherever Kenny S goes automatically becomes one of the most sought after esports brands. There's a reason everyone knows who Kenny S is.
Well, I don't want to take
We
this
can
whole
play CS and we don't talk about CS every
Alright,
day.
we can make this whole thing about Kenny. Let's move on. Alright, let's move on to my favorite region, Europe, baby. Alright, before we start talking about... Alright, let's talk about Team Liquid. Yes, we discussed in the scrapped episode. Let's talk about them here. Team Liquid have made a very clear and very respectable commitment to these 5 players. It's been rumored now that after this result they were trialing, but they should not have lost that game to Alliance. They did not look good. They looked disjointed. They didn't look like their IG... Okay, here's my issue. Eccles...
They won one game on Icebox. They won one round on Icebox.
Dude, I don't... Okay.
What?
Like... Alright, I was going to make a CS reference. But I just want to say this. If you're a CS fan, I have to make this for 5 seconds. That's Spirit game, though. That's Spirit of Straws game, though. Anyway. So, like, when we look at Team Liquid, is that they don't look like a very coherent team. They don't look like... They look kind of tactically deep, but not really. They're not as tactically deep as someone like Heretics or Fnatic or FPX. This team just does not look like it can compete with the cream of the crop anymore, and I think that it needs roster changes. This team has not been a top 2 team for a long time now, arguably since before First Strike, and even then I think FPX was the second best team in Europe. This team really needs some new blood. They've already tried shaking up the roster, and it hasn't produced results. They played worse now, like overall, than they did with the roster shakeups. This team, I don't like to cut players who are up and comers like Eccles and Soulcast, who are clearly good players who can make it out there. But I just don't think that this core is correct. I don't think that the combination of the Old Fish 1-2-3 players and Scream works. I think that yes, roster changes are at this point warranted. I understand that's a paying move to say cut the lowest fragging players, but Eccles is their IGL, and he's not doing a good job of it. So, like, what do you want me to say? I think Eccles could find a lot of success other places, like maybe G2, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that, by the way. But clearly, he cannot stay on this team. It just doesn't work. Thoughts?
Team Liquid. I mean, I'm not gonna claim to know as much as you do about their situation. But like it has been a string of very poor form for them. And you can't, like, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't think anyone's going to be calling for, like, any firings if it's, like, just a couple losses. But whenever you go through what at this point has been months of nonstop, like, well, not, like, flat-out failure, not meeting expectations.
They keep having close games against good teams and losing.
Yeah, like... It's just at some point something has to change because obviously whatever's going on isn't working.
All right, let's. I mean, we've our piece. Now let's talk about 2 quick teams. So, the all finish rush they faced G2. On this episode we made a bunch of jokes about it because hey, ENCE will pick these guys up. They didn't look that good. They looked like an okay team, but they didn't really look like anything special. Unfortunately, no players really even stood out. I guess the game against G2.
Yeah.
So ENCE, if you want to start an all finish roster, this is the way to go. But I don't think there's anything special about this team. I cannot say that a team that played Heretics. Now, first of all, we all have to take the Heretics game with a grain of salt. Actually, first, before we do this, let's discuss their 6-man team. So, I was against 6-man rosters, and I assumed that the reason they had signed Rubino, who's a Norwegian CSGO veteran, is because Lolo had a finger injury and could not play during the qualifiers. He did come back to win his game in Challengers, but he was injured, so I thought that's why they sent Rubino. Not so. Even though their Nisao was the MVP of this game, of a close game against Shakalaka, I think if they say the name, it might be Shakalaka, I'm not sure. They still put in Rubino instead of him, and they looked good. They looked really good. So maybe the 6-man roster actually is a thing, because Rubino played really well, and they roasted...
I'd say Rubino was actually quite a shining light for the team.
Well, I don't know if I'd say that. I think he was a good cog. I don't know if he was the star player. He still got outshined.
I mean, but to come in as kind of like this, like, what everyone is assuming to be just like a temporary substitution role, and then at least that's what I feel like we initially thought, and a lot of people initially thought as well, was like maybe this is just like a temporary thing or whatever. But then we hear about the actual signing, and and so we're like, okay, how is he going to be used? And then we saw him be used magically, perfectly. in their game against Chakalaka.
Actually, I forget who they played to get into first. Oh, they played OG. Anyway, so that's good. For Chakalaka, I think these players are out of their mind cracked. These players are such good aim; it's unbelievable. When Pansy is to the best. Like, I heard these guys were aim gods, but oh my god, these guys don't miss. They're insane. Holy crap, that game was wild. They Heretics were just smarter, but they were just getting owned because these players are nuts. Holy heck. It's unbelievable.
It was very entertaining. Out of like the teams that, because you know how we noticed in the scrapped episode that there was a lot of it was all like major, like relatively big organization names with like mixed European rosters from like some of the best talents from all across Europe versus a bunch of like scrappy little single nationality.
Yeah, it was like an all French team against Alliance, an all Finnish team against G2, an all Polish team against Heretics, and then it was Guild, who were an all Swedish team against. Wait, who was it? Fnatic. Yeah. Okay, we gotta talk about Guild because they don't look amazing. They lost Fnatic, but they look way better. They look like
they don't
look like an NA team, guys. They're not a North American team anymore. It's incredible. Hooray!
Yeah. It's a shame that they've ran into a Fnatic who we thought was gonna be hot stuff going into this, because they looked really good. Then Fnatic turned around.
Well, all right. So we've talked about basically everything now. I think we're ready to talk about. By the way, Alliance. We're not really gonna talk about them because we think they just had an easy game against Wave. Like Wave got pretty lucky against Fnatic, and then they got a pretty easy bracket that we were ready to play with struggling Liquid and Vitality. So we're giving them basically a free pass. We're not really talking
about
them.
Alliance probably. It does not matter with the 4 teams that go.
Wait, don't make the prediction. I have seen the Alliance players be good. All right, let me.
I'm not going to make the prediction. I'm just saying that there's a very likely chance that they are not in. That they are the worst team going into Masters.
We'll see. So, all right, let's talk about the biggest game or the biggest episode, I think, which is all right. I guess they're all. We didn't talk about G2. So G2 cut their original, seemingly unbeatable 5-man lineup, and they replaced David P, who was a Belgian player, with the Pole Zeke. Zeke has not looked bad. He's not been the worst player on Steam by any means, but this team wanted an IGL. They wanted to look more tactically deep. They wanted to have a new look, and they did not. They are the same team. They were absolutely figured out by North. Okay, I think there is a thing going on in the community that, wow, NIP are the boogeyman team for G2. They figured them out. NIP are so good against G2. No. G2 have been effectively figured out.
I think I'm going the other way with this. I think Ninja Pajamas, we might have just been sleeping on them, and they might just.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Well, no. Well, I think, yeah, they might be the best team in Europe, but I think we have not. I don't think we've been sleeping on them. I think G2 just don't look good. G2. They look like 5 talented players with a plan. But the plan is bad. But the plan is not good. They don't look like they have no plan, to be fair. They look like they have a plan.
Is better than no plan at all.
Yeah, but no plan at all is what North America does, not what Europe does.
So they just need to draw Guild, and they just need to draw Guild next time.
God, you're so rude, bro.
They just need to draw Guild in VCT3. It's fine. That's how they get through. They just draw Guild. It's easy, clubbers.
Okay, but that's like what we're saying for most teams. You know, who else can get through by playing Guild? Most teams that are in Guild. God, you're just so rude, bro.
It's fair.
Oh gosh.
God, remember we thought Guild were a legitimate top 8 team.
Well, they beat G2. They were the first team to ever beat G2. Then they got DQ'd. What? Okay. Anyway. So yes, I think G2. I am such a Okay, I'll tell you guys about this. I, as a person, am a roster change Randy. I say this team needs roster changes more than Israel.
Would you say you are a transfer Terrence?
Yes, I'm a transfer. That's such a bad joke. Why am I laughing? All right. Okay. Yes, I am, as a person, am a transfer Terrence. If I say transfer a player, take it with a grain of salt, guys. But I think when this team cut David P for an IGL and they don't look very good, I have to criticize that move.
Basically, he's just gonna look for any excuse to just angry rant about one particular player's performance any given week.
Shut up, you're a bully.
It's gonna be a running theme. Don't worry about it.
Well, I no, but the thing with G2 is I don't have a criticism for a specific player. I don't think Zeke is bad. I don't think any of these players are bad. I just don't think the team
all
looks
the
good.
players put up wonderful individual performances. It's just that somehow they managed to turn 5 wonderful individual performances into not a win.
They're
which
less
is
than the sum of their parts. That's the issue.
Yeah, which like
they aren't even bad team players. Their team play looks okay, but it's just it's just you know what? It's kind of like TSM. They're stale. Their team play is stale. They've been doing the same thing for too long. Their team play is stale.
This team beat Future Ends. Dang,
this team beat Future
sad.
Ends. God,
this team beat Future Ends. That's kind of sad.
Yeah, I would have liked. All right, so I wasn't actually going to do this because of copyright, but we made a joke that if Future Ents, by the way, that's the Finnish team that played G2, we're gonna call every Finnish team a Future Ents. Come on.
Any team that services that's even half decent that is
Finnish, we're gonna call it
all Finnish with their Future Ends. It doesn't matter what the actual team is.
I made a joke that if Ents won, if Future Ents won, we were gonna play the Easy for Ents song. Like, you know, it's just disappointing that G2 beat them and then didn't play well. But yeah, first of all, I have to say something. Okay, they're IGL. You know him as a Kukos. His name is Existence. I refuse to call him a Kukos. He's Existence. He's been that way since Source. No way am I calling him a Kukos. Existence, they're IGL, who is generally a breach player. Like, the dude plays super well. Like, a lot of IGLs, especially older IGLs in Counter-Strike, like, can't frag. This guy's fragging out. He's like Angel. You know, he's not top fragging, but he's playing well. Really happy to see, like, a good performance from Kukos. That guy's 31.
You'd say you really love to see an esport boomer pop off.
Yes, you do.
I mean, the dude's literally twice my age.
No, he's 31. He's twice my age. Shut up. He's not twice your age. Give the man a break. He's not pushing 40. Leave him alone.
He's a fucking dinosaur.
Poor language. Poor Existence. Gosh, you're so rude.
He's such a dinosaur.
He's 31. He's not a dinosaur. All right, you know what?
He's actually been playing since Source.
Yes, Counter-Strike Source. Which
I was 4. 4 years old.
All right, bro. Let's just move on to the next teams. All right. I think the most disappointing actually, no, before we get into the most disappointing result, let's talk. Stop it. Stop it. All right. Let us speak about this match between FPX and Fnatic. Now, what I would first say is that on the first map, I think we might need to see a patch change to stop the Molly stuff, because the Molly stuff is not okay. Like, FPX had a better had like basically were like not being idiots and giving up sites and going for retakes, but it just didn't matter because they had Viper mollies and Brim mollies and Brim ults. Like, there might need to be a patch change to stop the spike from getting mollied every 10 seconds, because in Counter-Strike, you can put the molly out with a smoke. In this game, you cannot. It's an issue. I seriously think that, like, Fnatic just kind of cheesed their way to winning bind. It should not have been a thing that was allowed to happen. That wasn't fair to FPX. They played a better game, but they just got rolled by mollies.
Yeah. No, FPX should have won that game a lot sooner, and Fnatic just kind of exploited the game.
What I'll ask you is that, like, yes, you can block with a Sage Wall at the very least. Do you think there needs to be a patch change to prevent mollies on the spike?
I feel like that's kind of a double-edged question, because, of course, a lot of people, like, the question's going to be very split based on how good you are at the game. People who aren't good at the game, like, towards, like, the lower end of ELO are going to be saying,
I'll point out,
are going to be saying, like, well, yeah, duh, of course, I think that should be a thing, because, like, you know, being able to molly the spike is just unfair. But then you're going to have people towards the higher end of ELO who say, you know, like, well, it's very much so, like, you know, it still does involve some skill. And so, like, I don't think that, you know, people who are of a higher ELO than the average user or the average player are going to think that it's an inherently broken thing. And so I think it would kind of be like a thing where, like, they might tune it down a little bit, but I don't think we're gonna see it completely like disabled.
I think this is just me being a grumpy CS player, being like, I can't put out mollies this game. This isn't like this could totally just be me being a grumpy CS player. That happens a lot in the show.
I think a lot of it does come down to we all want what we think is good in other games, but if every game did what was good in every other game, we wouldn't have
any games.
We wouldn't have. There would be one.
We'd have Poke Mario Legend of Global Offensive. That would be the game. That would be the game.
You picked like the 5 worst games.
All right, we will discuss that after the show. Now,
except for Zelda, Legend is.
We will discuss that after the show. Ollie, Madam. Anyway, so let's move on.
Dragon Age should have been out there, but okay.
Let's move on to the next match. Now, I have a serious gripe with what Fnatic is doing. Okay, so in Global Offensive, even if you don't get a plant off and you're on CT side, you will almost always do something called force buying after you lose the pistol, which is buying the best weapon you can, even though it's almost always inferior to your opponent's, or in some cases that you can't full buy, you will force against your opponent's force. Generally, in Counter-Strike, you buy 4 Deagles and a Scout, which is the Marshal in Valorant, excuse me. So you'll buy like 4 Sheriffs and a Marshal, the CS equivalent. I don't agree with that as much in this game, and I think it was the most of the reasons Fnatic lost, because Fnatic did that, lost twice, and then the economy really got away from them. They had to like take a lot of ecos and a lot of force buys. And I think the reason for that is that in Counter-Strike, the game goes to 16, not 13. A half is 15. So you have a lot more leeway with like giving up some eco rounds, because losing 4 rounds is way less than it is compared to losing Valorant. Like 4 rounds is a quarter, in Valorant's a third. So I think that we might need to stop seeing. Well, okay. The issue is that like winning the second round force buy, if you lost the pistol, is better than winning the pistol, arguably, because you actually break their eco, not like kind of break their eco. You break their eco.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm wondering is, well, I guess the stingers we won't say, but like I don't think the second round counter force is worth it. I think it kind of lost FPX the game because the eco just ran away from them. Thoughts?
Yeah, no. FPX really did just kind of they played very well very early, and then they kind of were just able to snowball from there. They're kind of got to a point where like we all kind of saw that Fnatic just wasn't going to catch up.
I think when it was 8-4 in Haven, I knew the series was over. Like last match, 2 down, 8-4, it's over. It's over.
Yeah, no, that's one of those things where you're like, yep, no, like obviously, there's still some game left, but like everyone can kind of see where it's going, and that's how it is sometimes. Sometimes you have one of those games where like you're down 8-4 in a series that you did not look very good in the last map, and then you kind of cheese the first map as a victory. Like Fnatic didn't look their best. And I feel like that was just kind of exposed.
All right, so our last matchup for the day in Europe is we're going to talk about Heretics. So Heretics, even though Nisa was their MVP of their match against Shakalaka, sorry, I'm trying to hold in the sneeze. They benched him and put in Rubino, but they put back Lowell. Okay, they didn't bench him. They took him out of the roster. They played with Rubino and Lowell. Lowell is obviously this team's best player, no question about it. Like, so I'm glad they did that. Thought the Rubino move was weird, but they played really well. I think OG kind of just got diffed in this game. Like, Heretics just had better playing and better fragging.
They just got all around team diffed.
Like, it wasn't an unclose. It was a 2-0, but it wasn't like an unclose series. It was like 13-8, right? 13-7.
13-6 and 13-7.
Yeah, it's not good, but it's not terrible.
Which isn't
yeah, like this is the best team in Europe. It's
about what you would expect.
So the question is, do we really take that much from OG in this, or do we just give OG more time because this is the best team in Europe and you're a new team? Like, do we just give them more time? Because like, my thing with OG is they're obviously not willing to make roster changes. Like their CS Go team has been struggling for a little bit. They won't make roster changes. Obviously, they would never make changes to their current Dota team. Duh.
This roster is very old, though.
What this roster got was the Monkey Distance first game was I thought.
No. I mean, like the age of the players.
Oh yeah, no,
Like
I'm not.
they are all very.
That's
old
OG's
players.
thing though. Their CS:GO roster is a bunch of boomers too. Like that's their
Oh,
thing. They sign
really?
old players. Like their
Ew.
Dota team is old. Their CS:GO team is old. This team is old. Like I think I'm willing to just give this team the benefit of the doubt and say you need more time to get your stuff together. Like you need to find out.
I like how they literally have like 4 boomers and they have like a 16-year-old.
I think Onibi and Element are actually both Zoomers actually.
Are they both Zoomers? So is it like a 3-2 split?
It's like 100 Thieves. It's 3-2 split.
Okay.
They
get a little bit of a pass. It's just the players that they have that are older. Like really
well,
old.
we're very familiar with AKM on Cohen Civic. Obviously, they played Overwatch. They played the Rook back when we were back when back when we started. For those who don't know, ew, I spit. Sorry, apologies everyone. For those of you who don't know, me and Ollie have been following Overwatch for a very long time, since like 2016.
Since I was a baby. I was a child.
I was in middle school.
I was.
You were my age. You were my age.
I was no. How old's Overwatch? Overwatch came out in
5 years ago.
16, so 5 years ago in May. So I would have been
my age.
15 when they came.
You would have been in high school. I'm a junior. You would have been a sophomore. You're
I would have.
Anyway. So we're very familiar with AKM and Cohen Civic, and we're kind of wondering if these players' careers is basically over. Like these players are old. They haven't looked very good in Overwatch.
I think this is kind of like.
Is this a retirement home? Is OG just a retirement home?
I feel like this is gonna kind of be like they're like one last hurrah, like see if they can win something or even do relatively well in one last thing before they hang up the mouse and keyboard for
God,
good.
we're talking about these players being old. They're like 27 and 28. What is wrong with industry?
AKM is literally 30.
What? That is. Go fact check that right now. That is false. I'm certain.
I'm fairly certain AKM is literally.
Go
30.
check his age. We're all gonna wait for.
Okay, he's 25.
We're calling this dude okay. This esports needs to go more the way of CS:GO, where older players can play for longer. Because like we should not be calling players washed at 25. We should not be calling Dylan Beignet is not washed. He is 26. Let's give these players the benefit of the doubt.
Ungo is 25 as well.
All right, let's move on to Korea. Before we get into this,
They went to Korea.
They went to Korea. Thanks, XQC. All right, the Korean format allows for draws. So technically, Vision Strikers.
It's dumb and I hate it. It's dumb and I hate it.
We're gonna get to that. Yes, it's dumb and we hate it. Technically, Vision Strikers' win streak is over. They got they were up a map 9-3. Their opponents came back and beat them. That's the end of the Vision Strikers' win streak. They have a tie. They still haven't lost, but they've had a tie. I would also like to point out there were two in the group B that not include Vision Strikers. There were 2 teams that tied all of their games, and instead of having a tiebreaker, Riot Korea let them go in off of round differential. What? Like, to be fair to TNL, they were not permitted, even though they signed Rizzy, they weren't able to play with him. They played with Bale, their coach, because they qualified with Bale, their coach. Tough. Yeah. So, like, that sucks, but, like, that's just not how you run the tournament. It's not acceptable for...
It's super weird, because for once, Riot has somehow managed to set it up so that way North America is their only good, like...
format. Well, I think Europe's format's fixed now. I think Europe's format's okay now.
The single game actual VCT event. Like I like how.
Oh wait, I lied. Europe's format isn't good. I forgot they're playing one game.
I like how the qualifiers are turning out, but every team only playing one game as part of as a part of the actual VCT is not good.
Like, okay, every format except for NA has a problem. Europe, you only play one game, then you're done. And you play against a team that's basically random, so that's not good. In Korea, you can draw. You can literally draw, and then you don't get to play a tiebreaker if two teams have the same scoreline. It's played off round differential, which it might actually matter for both groups. Because I think in both Group A, which was Vision Strikers, you had 3 teams that went 1 and 2, no tiebreaker.
No, it was just Group A. It was just Vision Strikers and New Turn went 1 and 2. ZF Gaming went. They drew all 3 of their games.
Oh, and the other teams lost.
And WGS went 0, 1, and 2.
So, but okay, I at least understand that why this format might be it might be kind of okay, the group stage thing, The ties are not acceptable. And the fact that you didn't let the teams play a tiebreaker and used round differential was completely unacceptable. That's not a way to run an esport. That's not okay. That's not fair to the teams. Like, TNL were a better team than who the heck made it? Like,
Ape.
They were a better team than Ape, but Ape happened to tie all their games and have a better round differential, so they managed to... It's just not okay. With that said, let's talk about some of the teams we saw. So, Day1, obviously after losing their best player, Hate, and another good player, Rizzy, bombed out. TNL could not play with Rizzy and didn't get to play tiebreaker, so they bombed out. Team Yahoo, who are former Bear Claw, even though they left the orgs, are still playing well, which is good. With Vision Strikers, I am not counting this as their streak breaking. Not happening. No way. Doesn't count. Don't care.
No, I feel like it would have to be an actual loss.
Yes, it has to be an actual loss.
I don't think they're still technically unbeaten. Well, they're not.
They haven't won all their games. They're unbeaten.
They haven't had like the golden streak or whatever, but they're unbeaten still, which I feel like is still something.
I don't count their streak breaking. Maybe this is like a scratch on their streak, but it's not. It doesn't end the streak by any means. No way.
Yeah.
What I am surprised out. I predicted that. Okay. I said that they weren't very good. You didn't believe me. WGS absolutely bombed out of their group. They played terribly.
I thought they were going to be better.
I thought it was
the team looked very good, and the group was by far the easier one.
With Vision Strikers in it, you think it was the easier group?
Well, yeah, because Newturn and ZF both.
I think Newturn's good. I think Newturn's a good team. I don't think ZF is a good team. I think Newturn's a good team, though.
I would still give I would put WGS over Newturn. Before I put them over Damn1 or TNL.
Well, I think Damn1's bad now, though, because they lost their best players, though. Damn1's bad now. Yeah, thanks, Hate. We still don't know where Hate is, by the way. Hate, where are you? Where are you, Hate? Where are you?
He's gone.
We thought he was moving to like another region. We just have no idea at this point. Anyway.
Haven't heard anything on that front whatsoever.
Oh yeah, alright, so another thing to create out. Lunatic High dropped their whole roster. I'm not surprised. Their roster hasn't played well, but it's just... I just want to see Org succeed because they housed my favorite Overwatch team. For those who don't know, Lunatic High has been Org for a long time, but they became famous after their Overwatch team took over the entire world for 2 years straight. They are the only team in the history of Overwatch until the San Francisco Shock did it last year to win 2 major titles.
In a row.
Well, either way. No other team had won 2 major titles.
And not even technically Team Envious won.
MLG Columbus does not count. It was only NA.
And then it was MLG Vegas, which actually did have European teams at it.
But they didn't have I am not. They didn't have Korean teams. Doesn't count.
But still.
I don't mean majors in the Wikipedia rankings. I mean majors in the highest level of your esport. That's what I mean. I guess technically GCU Sans players did it, though, because they won Apex Season 4 and then won on the London Spitfire. But that doesn't
different organizations, though, baby.
Yeah.
Same team, 2 different organizations doesn't count.
Also, something like 3 players on the same team. Anyway, to get away from this and get back to our point. So we've made it kind of so like Lunatic High is a legendary org. They can clearly care about their players. So it's upsetting to see them have to cut their whole roster and not really finding the talent. Because I want to see Lunatic High find another Jae Hong and another Toby and another
you win.
Wait. Okay, hear me out here. Lunatic High cut their whole roster, right? Eska.
No.
Eska's off of military service. They're gonna sign Eska. It's happening.
If they sign Eska, it'll be the esports comeback of the century.
For those of you who don't know, Eska is the best Korean player that ever played in FPS. He's won a major in every... He was part of those 2 back-to-back majors we talked about, and he is the only player to win... he's the only Korean player to win a major in every esport he's ever played. He did it in PUBG, 2 in Overwatch, and 3 in some other lesser-than Korean shooters. He is the best Korean FPS gamer of all time. So, we want to see this man's. We want to see this man's. This guy is the FPS Flash. It's maybe not. That's a little high praise, but still, he's a very good player. He could we want to see him play more. We miss him. He left Overwatch very early. We miss him.
He left Overwatch very early because we bullied him.
Yes, that was a mistake. I think we all get that now. Anyway, so theoretically, if Asuka were to come to Valorant, I'd say he's the most likely person to break Vision Striker's win streak because he is
What
an
if he
absolute
joins Vision
unit.
Strikers? What if he joins
But
Vision Strikers?
who
What
would
if
he?
he joins Vision Strikers though?
But like, okay,
No, besides, wouldn't he most likely join Genji?
Genji is an NA org and they have an NA team.
But he played for Genji's PUBG team.
I know, but he played. No, he would not join Genji. He would join the org who made him famous. No, no,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
Anyway, so yes.
Whatever you say.
Lutica got their whole roster. I only brought this here because I want to talk about Eska, but now, all right. So this isn't region. This is kind of region specific, but not really. Let's talk about it. So we have a conversation about imports. For those who don't know, the League of Legends Championship Series is the North American division of League of Legends, and it is absolutely filled to the brim with imports. There's almost no actual full North American teams, and I think the one that is there is bad on a full league. There was a big drama about the LCS totally removing, like, you can basically import full teams of European players and Asian players, and no NA teams players have to be on your team.
That's not how it works currently, but yes.
But they're talking about removing the rule to make it work like that. So let's have a conversation about imports, because what I will say is that imports will kill a region, because you've seen in League of Legends that I don't know that much about League. This is backhand information.
Do you want me to explain?
No, I don't. No, I don't. But I want to say my experience with like imports in the region. If you have too many imports in the region, you stop looking for talent in that region. And eventually the team you just kill the region. The thing with Global Offensive is the reason NA never actually died in Global Offensive and kept having teams that could compete, like the first Complexity roster, the first I'm a Power, then Team Liquid, even though they had Simple, still it was a mostly American team, and then you had the Decline roster one majors, because your North American Counter-Strike was not filled with imports. There were some, but they weren't actually able to pub stomp the region. So NA had to keep finding new NA talent. So you got, even though he unfortunately retired because of burnout, you had new up-and-comers like Ovo. Like, you had new up-and-comers, like, at the time, you had your Stewie 2Ks and your Rushes and your automatics. I'm just worried that
Shroud. I don't actually know.
Shroud was not an up-and-comer. Shroud was a veteran. Basically started playing very early in the CS Global Offensive and was on Cloud9 for like 5 straight years. Anyway,
so I'm worried that I just know that that's a player I know.
I'm worried that, like, because NA is clearly the weakest region right now, if we see things go this way, we're going to see imports kill NA Valorant, and I don't want to see that. So honestly, I'd like to see Riot they're not going to ban imports, but I'd like to see imports kept at 1 at max. That might mess with some Japanese teams, because a couple Japanese teams have some Korean players, but still, I think imports need to be like clamped down pretty hard on.
I like how the LCS currently, and how all regions in Riot's League of Legends professional scene have it, so that way every team is only permitted 2 imports. And at like the continental stage, like in like the LEC, which is like the European team, North America, which is actually just recently this year combined with the Oceanic region, making it so players people from Australia and New Zealand technically have North American residency.
Wait, dude, what if that happened? What if that happened in Valorant and we got to see Dick Stacy play in America?
Didn't we have this conversation? We had this conversation already.
Listen, we just want to watch Dick Stacy play. That's all we really want. We want to see Dick Stacy play more because his name is Dick Stacy. Is that so much to ask? The man's name is Dick Stacy. His sticker in Counter-Strike is just the word Dick. We want to see more of this guy. He's so incredible.
I love Dick so much.
God, Dick is the best thing to come out of Australia, clearly.
Dick is one of the greatest things in my life.
I mean, I think we all love Dick, clearly.
Everyone loves Dick.
Yes, I mean, so many people bought Dick in Counter-Strike.
I can't anymore. Can we end this episode?
No, we haven't finished this conversation. Damn it.
Oh, Jesus.
What was your point about the LCS and imports?
So basically, I would just prefer to see like sort of like a 2, because I think that the import rules for League of Legends is fine. No one expects North America to compete with Europe, China, and Korea anyway.
In League of Legends, he means.
In League of Legends, I don't know what the expectations are supposed to be for Valorant yet.
I think
Not
in
high.
Valorant, they're like from the fans, they think like, okay, this is something that's bothered me for a long time. You know how high the expectations of NA are for the fans of Valorant? If you go to the
They
Wikipedia
shouldn't
page,
be.
listen,
They shouldn't be.
listen. If you go to Wikipedia right now and you go check regional major rankings, the only spot that's green in the rankings is the top spot for North America, and all of the challengers events are B tier, except for the North American ones, which are A tier. So
Mm,
all the challengers is B tier, but NA is A tier. Wikipedia, what the hell? That's some bias right there.
they're not smart. Um,
Damn.
no, I mean, am I gonna out here and say like, Valorant's gonna be dominated by one region or the other? No.
Yes, he is.
China.
He thinks Korea's gonna dominate them. He's a liar. He thinks
No,
Korea's gonna
I
dominate.
don't.
Yes,
I
you
don't
do.
think I will root for Korean teams every chance I get, but I understand that Europe is
Been playing
probably
Counter-Strike for 20 years and they're not going down so easy.
Europe is probably going to beat Korea at every chance. It's gonna be one of those things where it's like Europe is going to prevail as like the big baddie that wins everything, and then there's gonna be like this group, like this little cluster of regions underneath them, and it's gonna be like like Korea, North
It'll
America.
probably be like in Dota, like where China is good but not as good as Europe.
Yeah. I haven't even seen any Chinese Valorant, so I don't know how good China
Okay,
is.
so I guess we're just this is the real thing we'll end off with because we're going to move into this. Why does China not have a region? Because RNG have a team and there's a Chinese team, but there's no challengers. Riot, are you okay? I don't understand. Am I missing something here?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on with them not having.
Because
Maybe they're just gonna compete in like the SEA regions.
I don't think I think I checked that. I don't think they are. Maybe whatever, dude. Anyway, let's end the episode here. So that's all for the Valor-Inters Podcast. If you like this video, you know what buttons to hit. I don't know what to tell you. If you are interested in me, my name is Jupiter. I'm an aspiring color caster. This is Ollie. She is an aspiring playback caster. We'd like to cast.
I talk fast.
We'd like to be a duo. So if you're having Valorant tournament you need casted, please contact us. So you can find our socials in the description of this video. So that's all for us. I hope you enjoyed the video, and good night.
Goodbye.